Hi, welcome to this episode of Prophecy for the Last Hour. I'm Liz McGee, and I want to share a little different this morning. I want to share on creating a safe space. As the world gets more and more toxic, and it really is, seems to be every day, we're spiraling somewhere, not good most of the time. There is a place for the elect of Elohim. There is a place for us, the righteous, to be. And I want to talk about creating a safe space. We hear that first today, creating a divine space in which we can abide in his presence. And our Torah is just full of parabolical, allegorical language, ways in which we can help ourselves do this. And as I go, because, lately I've been talking about, some kind of really heavy things, and I'm going to go into more heavy things, very mature understandings, sex and the serpent, right? I thought it was a good time to just sort of take a break and try to, how do we protect our minds, our hearts, our souls, our spirits? This is always, and our texts and are replete with examples of this. So I want to talk creating a safe space. This is like a meditation. This is something that in a meditation, like, wrap your mind around this, dwell on it, think about it. It's nothing that, we cannot literally, get a bunch of boards and nails and put a safe space around us from all the demonic hordes that are after us, right? So this is something in the mind. This is something that we can do, but it is done on a different level. So the typology that has been created for us is that, you start with like Abraham. Abraham lived in a tent, right? And he was kind of on the move. He was looking for a city. Let me just give you a couple verses to set my premise here. Because again, creating a safe space. In Acts 17:28, it makes a statement, says that it's in him, in Elohim, in Yahweh, that we live, we move, we have our being. All right. Now, let me just draw your attention to those three words: live, move, have our being. Remember, I've always said we're kind of this body, soul, and spirit. So you have your being, your body, our actual physicality. We move refers a lot of times to our animation, a level of our soul, our nephesh. We are animated. We move about. We have programs that run in us. We live in him. And this is, I am speaking to an elect saint, someone who really has a personal relationship with Yeshua HaMashiach, which has now reconnected us to our divine origin, to the Godhead. We are back in his presence always. So how do we live in this world with this concept that truly it is him, our body, soul, and spirit can dwell in him? We live, we move, or have our being. Because you've always heard the phrase, this world is not our home. We are looking for a city that is coming. This was what Abraham refers in Hebrews 11:10, that he looked for a city whose foundation is heavenly, whose builder and maker is Yah. We know that things that are on this earth that are temporal are made by people, or even beavers build dams. Things down here, dwelling places, abodes, are very temporal. But we are told that we can build and we can live, that we have a place. Remember, even the NIV says that we, in my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. He has prepared a place for us, this divine space, this safe space. Okay, so where we can abide here while we wait, where we know we will abide forever with him. So this, in the typology section, with the tent, in Israel moved into a tabernacle in the wilderness. See, in a wilderness, and I would tell you code words. Wilderness is a word that, dry, arid places. This is sort of a realm of a demonic realm. See, the God of this world, he has made the earth a wasteland. That's one of the phraseologies, and I believe it's in Isaiah, it talks about who made the world a desert. This is not the lush Garden of Eden anymore that Adam and Eve originally were living in, a paradise with Elohim. All right, we live in a wasteland, a desert. So, but at the same time, we have promises that tell us we can live in an abundance, that we can transform our spaces, so to speak, into lush gardens where there's, new wine and oil and bread and abundance, milk and honey. Okay, and these are all, again, code words describing things to us. But so the builder and maker of the space that we want to live in is made by our Yahweh, our Father, our Creator, our Messiah. So this is what's interesting, because the more and more I read in the text and understand the way the ancients use the words, they're very dimensional. See, a lot of times we miss this dimensionality that's in the word. We just think of very linear. We're very linear, but we live in a very dimensional place. And why I want this is important to say this at this juncture, as I move more in, if you want to go with me on the journey, whatever, into what's really going on sort of behind the I say sex and the serpent, how this paradisal, there's a word I'm trying to say, paradisal garden became a wilderness, okay, because Genesis 3:15, right? And he said thorns and thistles are going to grow up now in this garden instead of the lush, beautiful things that were there. But one thing is important to remember, we always are so focused in our later Western culture today on the body. Everything's just about what, the physicality, what we can see and touch, and, things that are real in the real world now. But that's not how our Bible was written, and the ancients understood. They understood and lived in and believed in and interfaced with in a much more of the supernal realms, of the heavens, of our soul life that inhabits spaces that you can't see in evidence, in the sense that, I can't give it to you to put under a microscope, but you can see, that's why it says in Romans that the invisible qualities of Elohim are made known by what is visible. The fact that I'm just here talking tells you there is a nephesh soul life running inside. But what we have to say is when we move about, we're carrying with us not just our body. This is what I guess we're carrying with us our soul life and our spiritual connection. In other words, it's like a root system that goes all the way from the bottom of the tree all the way up to the highest branches, or like a thread. So when we move very dimensionally. And sometimes we're not conscious of that. So anyways, what I want to do is kind of build this space. And space, and really another way to say it, because I'm really leading up to a whole teaching on the tree of life and the Sephirotic understandings that is in our text that our ancient patriarchs had of space and its dimensionality and how we're constantly interfacing with it. So what you have, we know that there's 7, well, you've heard the phrase, the 4 cardinal directions, I believe it is. We know that there is north, south, east, and west. What we don't really are cognizant of at all times, which we need to be, especially in this day and age, and we're making our safe space, is what's above and below. So that you have a complete cube. If you look at a cube, it has 4 walls. You can call it the north, the south, the east, and west, or you can call it the front, the back, the left, and the right. But you also have a floor and you have a ceiling. So if you take all of those components together, and you can completely construct an enclosed space. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. And he says that we can be in an enclosed, safe space structure. Call it a tent, call it a city, call it a temple, tabernacle, call it a temple. We have these treasures, this kind in our earthen vessels, whatever. All right. But there's keys to this. Okay. So you have to build this. All right. You have to build this safe structure in this dimension, this wasteland, this wilderness we're in. So, and this is where we are safe. Remember, we're safe in the shelter of his wings. Another way of saying there is a place that we can be. And it's by keeping his commandments, or his, they call the mitzvahs, by keeping certain precepts, ordinance, commandments, whatever you want to say. There is very tried, true, and tested ways, and our patriarchs and the great sages, this is the stories of the text, tell us that you can function and be in these places where Hasatan cannot touch you. That's the whole point. All right. So as we go into more and more chaos, we need to really believe, and we need to create this safe space, and we need to walk with it. So when I go, my body goes through, my soul and my spirit are going with me, and I'm a unity in this thing. All right. So I guess we're all these little orbs, I guess you could say. All right. But it's, he talks about keeping his commandments. All right. This is a fundamental, and this is a little something that, New Testament Christians are kind of weak on. This is one of the areas we need to buck up on. Buck up, baby. You got to keep the commandments. All right. Elohim is holy, and without holiness, no one is going to see Lord. Without holiness, you cannot keep this safe space around you. All right. This is fundamental to understanding. So, and he says his commandments are not grievous. This is not really that tough to do. It just takes discipline. It takes obedience. It takes endurance. It takes a few character traits, which he always says, he is our helper. He will help us. He is merciful. He is kind. All these attributes of Elohim, and this is where even the divine feminine comes into play. We have the motherly. He is our Elohim is compassionate and comforting. But I'm digressing here. If you love me, you will obey me, it says in 1 John. So this is fundamental. All right. You cannot confess with your mouth and then have your deeds being something totally different. See, that's total disconnect. All right. So if we love him, we will obey him, and we obey him physically, but we obey him in our minds and in our hearts. This is where we're getting to the threefold. There's always three folds to this thing, our body, our soul, and our spirit. We obey him in our bodies, in our minds, and in our hearts, which is in the heart is sort of like more for the soul life. The mind is much more spiritual. All right. You think of it, your head is in the cloud. Your head is higher up, so to speak. The thoughts, then your heart, which is sort of the middle torso, and then you got your feet on the ground. So all these things are swirling around, creating this concept that we are living in multidimensional space. Now, I'm going to give you these, and this is really from the sages, all right? This is a meditation, and I just loved the way they said this, so I want to re-say. This is, I'm not making this up, and this isn't me, all right? I'm not that smart. I'm just trying to give back some ancient wisdom that is in our text that can help you, because it's helped me. So, how to really, whenever I just feel like I do live and move and have my being abide in his presence. And it's such a blessing. So the lower 7 commandments are to function in this lower 7 Sephirotic realm. Okay. There's first 2 commandments. All right. And if you study out the Torah, the commandments have different emphases, but 2 of them that they will tell you were given by Yah himself. Yahweh literally spoke these. These are the first 2, that we are to love the Lord our Elohim with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Again, think of it, heart, soul, mind, our thoughts, and our strength, our physicality. All right. We're all supposed to love him, but it's more that we have to believe. If you're going to love someone, most people don't love something that doesn't exist, right? You love your child or your husband because they're there, they're in your life, they're present. All right. It's very, okay. So so Yahweh is present. We have to believe in his existence, and we have to believe in his providence. In other words, it's in believe that he is good. All right. It's very important. And the second commandment helps us to rise up to this concept. I'll say that in a second. But it's his will be done. We want to have Elohim's will done in our lives. And it's a good, it's acceptable, and it's a perfect will for us. He says, I know the plans I have for you to give you a future and a hope, not only in this world, but in the world to come. I mean, how beautiful is that? All right. And Yahweh has the ability to do that, to give us a life, not only in this world, but in the world to come. No other God can do that, people. There is nobody else. All right. So the second commandment is sort of, it says to deny, and a lot of times our translations, to have no other gods before him. That's kind of lame. We have to really dig deeper into this concept here. To deny any foreign power that has power or mazal or influence over us, that governs our actions, our lives, our destinies. Now, let me flesh that out, because I have been teaching a little bit more on the concept of mazal. This is something we need, again, we need to get up to speed and understand. Every living being except Adam was put under the mazal, the influence, the government, the realm of the Mazaroth, which is when you study out the heavens and we see the sun, the moon, and the stars. People think that that's the zodiac, and it is in a certain sense. That's sort of a physicality of it. But the actual brains of the operation, the artisans, the chieftains that run that thing are in a much higher heavenly level. All right, but it is still not. It is still below, quote unquote, the Godhead. So what I'm trying to say here, because I don't want to get too deep in this thing, these foreign powers, they have power to influence. A lot of times we do live under their influence. I mean, we get crops grow in their season because of the influence of the mazal. So I'm not saying, can't be stupid, but ultimately we have a destiny, we have an origination that is higher. If we can get there, if you can live in it, if you can believe, this is the whole point. If you have the new birth, these are always, if we can get connected back to our source, all right, this is our mazal. Our comes from the throne room, all right. Yeshua, when he sat down after he finished his work as Messiah ben Joseph, he sat down next to the Father, co-ruling and reigning, all right? So our mazal, our influence comes from him. This is what he's always trying to say. If, I and the Father are one. If you're in me, you're in us, and we're all one. It's wonderful. And he'll make this little safe space for us. Okay, but one of the things how we let foreign gods rule over us. This is okay, so we're in a war. I mean, this is part of the problem. We have been cast down to this wilderness, so to speak, and many people are kind of groping around in the darkness trying to find their way. But we do have an enemy. We do have an adversary. Our Bible's replete with it, and he does try to get at us. This is the point. But he gets at us a lot of times in a way that's, let's say, called trauma. I'll give you an example. Trauma. Good things, bad things that happen to good people. Well, nobody's exempt, all right? We all have issues, things that happen to us that we don't, sometimes we open the door, sometimes we're the culprit, but sometimes it just happens. What makes a little 3-year-old, his world fall apart because his parents get divorced, all right? And so now he's thrown into, let's say, into foster care or something because it's real dysfunctional, the state's got to get, these situations happen today. So here's this little 3-year-old, all of a sudden their life is traumatized at 3 years old when they should have security. They should have stability. They should have a wonderful space in which to grow and become this great planting of the Lord, and boom. Okay, but if you let that govern your life, if you let the circumstances that have happened to you in your life govern you, determine your destiny, who you are, your identity, then you are letting a foreign power rule over you. We really need to let that sink in. All right, because our Elohim has come. He has saved us. He has rescued us from this present evil world. He has set us above. He has healed us. All these things. We do not need to let, and we cannot let these foreign influences, these mazals, these actions, these things determine our destiny and determine who we are. We have to rise above our circumstances. They do not define us. They are, if anything, in the good. He says all things work together for good. He will use those to elevate you and to bring you into his presence. And I could just go on and on that little thing. But to have we understand the second commandment, to have no foreign power rule over us. So quit the whining and, bad things happen to me or whatever. All right, they happen to everybody. We have to, and we have the ability in our safe space to rise above it. So these are two. This is the above. This is considered these two are in the above and below. See, this is what I'm trying to say. Above us is Elohim. He has plans to give us a future and a hope, not only in this world, but in the world to come. If you repent, if you come before him, if he is so merciful, all gracious, he will restore you. He will give you back everything the locusts have eaten. He will give you a ministry that is birthed out of your trauma in which to help others. I mean, there's no place to go but up. Above us is Adonai Eloheinu, all right? And there's no end to Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, all right? Below us is Satan. Put him under your feet, all right? The whole demonic realm is put it under our feet. And that's a special New Testament principle. Yeshua has put everything, all principalities, all powers, all ruling wills, whatever, under his feet, which means it's under our feet. Okay, so that's above and below. All right, your mind should be focused on the promises of Elohim. He is above us, and below us, we are walking on the enemy. All right, then you have front, right, left, and back. Okay, so the sages were the front of us. All right, so we know Elohim is above us. I kind of look at it this way. I always feel like I have this heavenly GPS kind of always above me. The set looking down on me. He knows exactly where I am at all times. He knows what's 500 miles away and what is in front of my next step. I don't have eyes to see like that, but he does. So I feel like and if I'm walking, he's going to direct me. I have seen this, in so many plan just in traffic. For some reason, I praise Adonai. I always seem to be on the moving side of the traffic, so to speak. And I just kind of breeze by, and the other side is all plugged up. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Father. Thank you. This is a mind picture where this is what it is. I'm not bogged down. I'm moving. All right. Got a destiny, got a hope, got a place. I got to be somewhere, divine appointments. I mean, this is sort of how we can live this thing. All right. So in front of us is the Shema. All right. So we have to keep this in front of us. What's in front? Our eyes, we're pointing to our eyes, our mouth, our ears. So it's the Shema. It's be careful, little, how does it go? Be careful, little something, what you see and hear. All right. The Shema Israel. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That's for hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord your Elohim is one, is a unity. This is foundational. He is in front of us. He is leading us. That's Yahweh. He is a unity. But the interesting thing is, and this gets in so theological, philosophical, you can talk about this all the time. Ahad, it's not the word, it's the word for unity. So in other words, there are many, quote unquote, moving personas of Elohim. And we know this, and even the way he plays it out, but he's a unity. You cannot separate it. So that is in front of us at all times. He is our consciousness. We are continually conscious of our who we're following, our Adonai, who is our Lord, our Master, is in front of us, and he is a unity. All right? So that's in front of us. So then you have always the left side and the right side. So we have, and this is very established, it's in our word, talking about the right hand of blessing and the left side. We don't really kind of know what it's talking about because it's talking about the Sephirithic tree of life, but the right side of blessing, the left side of cursing. All right. But what does that mean? So on the right side, is always kind of with blessing, Hesed. This is the love of Elohim, where he says he really is first and foremost coming down from he deals with us in love and in mercy. He says his loving kindness, his tender mercy is new every morning. That is fundamentally who Elohim is. What parent is not, first of all, loving toward their child? Has just nothing but good thoughts, delights in them, all right? Now they get the little baby. I mean, you cannot look at a little child and just not pour out love to them. All right. But the point is, on the left side is where we get this kind of the love, the awe and the fear of Elohim. Not only, but he's also, he can chasten you. You step out of line, you do something really wrong, you willfully disobey commandments. It's not like you get off scot-free. This is he'll just let you fall under that mazal, that influence. You reap what you sow, whatever. He has many ways. There is a chastening side, a side of judgment, of Elohim, where yes, you will pay for your sin. Okay, and it's very deep. Again, theology. I'm not trying to make light of this, and don't give me one verse theology. All right, here, but we have to say there's a left side and a right side to Elohim. All right, and think in a space here. All right, so and this is again, you have the negative commandments. They'll say on the left side are the negative commandments. All right, so the do nots. Do not do that. Do not lie. Do not steal. Do not commit adultery, sexual sin, whatever. Okay, those are called negative commandments. But on the positive side, you have what they call the do commandments. Do love justice and mercy. Do give to the poor. Do love Elohim with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength. So you have this contest of the do's and the don'ts. Okay, that's part of it. So you have a front. He is in front of us. He is our unity. We are following. This gets back into the space you can raise around Israel in the wilderness. The pillar of fire that went before, and I think was the cloud behind them. All right. He is surrounding us. But we can know things. We don't have to we can be very intelligent about this. Our texts have so much information. So let me get to the backside. All right. So we've got north, south, east, and west, or we'll call it front, right, left, and back. So we have these sides of the cube, so to speak. All right, so we're making a cube, a safe space, right, a contain, and we've done above, we've done it below, we've done north, south, east, and west around us. But the back is another very interesting, because who sneaks in the back door all the time? Who is full of cunning and is constantly trying to gain entrance, right? Usually through, it says the hireling, jumps over the fence or doesn't go in through the door. He finds alternate route, so to speak. But the back, we are to God is our shield. So he puts a shield around us. The word Megan, which is the word shield. We have the Megan of Abraham. Or if you've ever heard of this whole concept of, the divine armor. Another way to say this, we can create a safe space. Our head, the helmet of righteousness. We have a shield. We have our feet. Our arms are involved. So you can see, again, a whole safe space, this armor we put around us to create this. But he guards our back from what is called the evil inclination, or negative energy. There's so many words for this, but we'll just call it Hasatan, the adversary, the accuser. He comes from the back. This is what the sages will tell you. And this is why, he said, I got your back. Because this is what comes up to us in the latest part. You can take the latest word pictures for this, our subconscious. It's the evil inclination, or it is evil that comes up from our subconscious, or and they call it behind us. All right. And in other words, if it was in front of you, if you saw something really even in front of you, you wouldn't keep going towards it. I mean, that's not, the normal logical, right? It comes from behind. You don't see it. All right. This is where from our subconscious, from the serpent, from the evil inclination, there's, lust, anger, hatred, foreign negative thoughts, unforgiveness, revenge, all these things that will come and prey on us, on our mind, from our subconscious on the back of our mind. And if it gets an entrance, boom. All right. But praise Elohim. It says that he puts a shield around, and that shield is on it covers our back. All right. Because you can't see the back. Nothing about us. Let me put it this way. In the back of your body, you got the back of your head, the back of your shoulders, the back. There's nothing there to protect you. All right. Everything is focused on the front. All right. This is such a beautiful mind picture. He says, if you will do all these other things, your mitzvah, if you will Stay connected with the above by keeping the commandments. If you will keep Satan under your feet, understand your positional here, all right? He is under our feet. Have no foreign gods. Do not let anything that's happened to you rule over you. Be your ruling influence, all right? It gives him, because see, what it does is when you harbor in a negative energy, you give power to it. You enable it. This energy, you give it life. And pretty soon, these things are strong. This is the point. They'll get stronger than you, all right? An addiction. Pretty soon, might innocently think I'll just try this, Pretty soon you're addicted. This thing is all over you, and it is greater than you. And you need, again, if anyone's had an addiction that they have been delivered from, they realize that the strong man, that they're all tied up and someone stronger comes. This is the whole point with Elohim and deliverance, and rescues you. But back to this concept of our rear guard, all right, this shield. This is so helpful to me. So I don't have to worry. If you get a thought, you can't stop these thoughts per se, but, something happens, you get angry and you get, or pride. You get all, somebody says something negative, you get all bent out of shape and stuff or whatever. No, we have to protect ourselves. We can, through the word, we shut these things down. All right. So we are in control, because he didn't make a bunch of robots. We're not little automated little orbs around here. We control our own destiny per se down here. We think we have volition. We have choices we can make. But if we can create, if you can live in this concept of this safe space that Elohim, in unison, in working with him, in this is what obedience will do. The blessings will flow. This is where we can have joy and peace in his presence. I don't worry about. And this is the thing. I'm only responsible for my little, or my space, all right? And if I carry with me the attributes of my Father, of mercy, of kindness, of love, of forgiveness, of power, all right, of faith, I can influence where my little orb goes. I can be an influence for good for Elohim in the world. So I think this is really important, because again, if your mind is stayed on him, it will keep you from heresies. It will keep you from, leaning too far to the left, leaning too far to the right, whatever. This is a self-contained little unit that we can function in. We can have joy in his presence. And I just praise Yeshua HaMashiach, who has made this for us now, for anyone. All right. This is something the Jews always knew. This was one of this is why I so keep commandments, keep mitzvah, stay in Torah, because they understood these little tents, these little tabernacles that they could, it's us, these Gentiles coming back to the Father. We need to really understand in much, much deeper level, the dimensionality of the spaces and of the realms that we are interacting with. So practice that meditation today. Have joy in his presence, and we will continue on in our journey of the elect having truth restored. Shalom.